Check, check. Arugula, arugula. Check, check. Audio
Okay,
okay?
yeah. I apologize about the punctuality. Good evening, everyone. So we'll be coming back for our third edition of Precision Hoops. I will be one of the hosts, of course, the Hoop God, of course, my co-host,
Get
the
yourself
Great
together,
Noble
bro. You got
Steam
it.
Engine.
Get yourself together, man. You're good. We're good. Good.
But
You're good.
yes,
I thought. Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
we have a special guest that I highly admire, highly respect his basketball intellect. I wanted him to come in on this particular topic to give us a little bit more insight. Politicus Rex, introduce yourself, sir.
Oh, me. Hey, I'm Rex. I like basketball.
Indeed, indeed.
Insightful stuff. Thank you, Rex. Um, no, I will say before we get started, Rex just blew my mind about something. Um, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Rex, can you phrase it exactly how you phrased it? Because to me, it did as a sneaker enthusiast. Ooh, enthusiast, not enthusiast. I'm sorry, everybody. I had white Hennessy introduced to me today, and I haven't eaten yet. So it's kind of like a race to see who taps out here first. But
Oh, that's a bad combination.
yeah, oh, it's not good. Rex, as a sneaker enthusiast, I have like the utmost respect for how you pose this. So can you just kind of repeat what you said in the back room?
Well, I was on a YouTube channel, whatever, video comment section yesterday, and they were arguing. It was a Jordan GOAT argument thing that somehow turned sideways into, well, he's got the best selling shoe of all time. And I have to correct the errors. He does not. Chuck Taylors sell more than anything. And that's just a fact. If you don't want to consider them a modern basketball shoe, okay, that's fine. But the fact is, they are a basketball shoe. They originated as a basketball shoe. They're named after a basketball player and coach, and they sell more. So that's all I'm saying. I didn't say they're better. I didn't say they're greater. Just stating the fact. They sell more.
I just appreciated that like standing on it ness. I don't want to take too much away from the Allen Iverson topic.
And the number is they sell 270,000 pairs a day. A day.
Yeah, I didn't know that a day thing. Yeah, that's crazy.
100 million a year.
Yeah, that's insightful. I wasn't.
It blew my mind. I had no idea. And when I came across that, what it was is we were real quick when we were talking about Bob Cousy having the first ever shoe deal in the NBA for his PF Flyers. And so I was doing a deep dive saying, well, what exactly is the difference between a PF Flyer and a Chuck Taylor All-Star? And I was looking and I came across the number of sales and it was like, are you kidding me? You know, it's like 100 million pair a year. That's stinking crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pop culture thing. You know, I mean, if you're into punk rock, you own at least 3 pair.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a skater, you have some. If you know, I race BMX. I race BMX in them. You know.
So with the topic of discussion being Allen Iverson, I know this is one thing that a lot of people are on. They're on different sides of the fence. So I just want to get into the whole ordeal about practice, right? When he made the comment, we're talking about practice. Now, I can separate, I would say, how I favor Iverson, you know, so to speak, because I understand how significant practice is. Like that's where you build up your continuity, your chemistry, and team cohesion. However, you know, if you have a player that's kind of being a rebel against practice, then it's kind of like you got a dilemma there. But I want to know okay, Rex, give me your perspective on that. And when I know when Allen Iverson made the comment in the context, but it's kind of like how do you routine?
Okay, first of all, if you're in the middle of a season, because I believe that happened in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think it was early on or late in the year. I think it was like in the middle of the season. If you're still worried about your guys gelling and needing practice time to gel, and you're halfway through an NBA season, you're already losing. All right, that's not the time for that to be happening. That's what training camp and preseason are for. Second, we're talking about the smallest guy on the court in almost every game he plays, and the guy that has the ball the most in almost every game he plays. Mm-hmm. He got knocked around probably as much as any player in history. He has to recuperate. I remember I was thinking about this on the drive home. There was an interview where Iverson mentioned that what his vertical leap used to be. But after 5 or 6 years in the NBA, he couldn't dunk anymore because his legs were so beaten up that once he got into the season, he had dead legs. He just didn't have the snap anymore because of all the shots he would take. He's a small guy.
Wear and tear.
Yeah, and I don't think people really understand that unless you played. I was a small guard. An inch or two shorter than him and about 10 pounds lighter. I was basically built the same way, and you get beat senseless when you're small like us. Regardless of talent. Talent has nothing to do with it. Well, probably if you got a lot of talent, you get hit more. But, I always go back to the Celtics with Russell. There was a time when there were a couple of players. They had just done a road trip, had lost the last game. Red was angry, and he was running a hard practice the morning after they got back. And this is before this is when they weren't even on jets, man. They're on prop airplanes at this point, okay? And the next morning, they're out there running and doing drills and all this. And Bill Russell is in the stands in his practice gear reading the newspaper. Some guys got angry. Red overhears them, blows the whistle, has a huddle in mid-court. Says, let me tell all of y'all something right now. There are 2 sets of rules on this team. One set for all of you and a different set for him. But Brown was not willing to afford that status to Iverson. Mm-hmm. And that was the crux of the matter. Iverson thought he did enough in the games, 100 miles an hour, never let up, carrying the team offensively, taking the beating, and that he should get a little bit of time to recover and get his head right. And old school Larry Brown, they butted heads on that, and it blew up in front of the cameras.
Hey, Spain, what's your thoughts on
that? On that whole practice ordeal, or just in general, Iverson as a player?
Well, no, that, and then what Rex also presented with the Bill Russell, because I got something that I want to speak on that. It's a quote that was told to me a long time ago.
Well, so what I do want to say is back then coaches had the respect of their players. So I think, for the most part, so for any player to openly object practice, kind of even before social media, was unheard of. And it was somebody that was already portrayed as being so anti-establishment. And that was just like this kind of snowball effect, right? And Rex, I assume when you had your braids for the first time and you had your tattoos and your elbow sleeves and all that stuff, the commissioner gave you a lot of pushback also, because it was different from what the league was used to. And it was like wrong person, wrong message. I just think, and I'm gonna get to this later. Allen Iverson might have the goalpost moved for him more than any athlete I've seen, and that's including LeBron James, in a very long time in terms of his overall greatness. Because I'm already seeing comments about, is he top 75? And I want to clear this up. To me, he's clearly top 75. He's top 50 to me. I don't know where he is in that. But make no mistake, from my perspective, he's top 50. I think kind of what drew this whole comparison was somebody comparing Allen Iverson to Dwayne Wade. And I'm a big Dwayne Wade hater. And even that was like blasphemy to me. So I was like, I wonder how people see Allen Iverson. So that's kind of how we got here. I don't have that much more to say to it because I don't want to take Rex's theme because he's a guest here. And Hoop God, you haven't really had an opportunity to speak on anything. A lot of my content is more veered towards once we get in the conversation.
Okay. So I tell you what. So when we segue past this, I'll let you just run the next one then, whatever you had that you want to speak. But when you were Rex, when you made that statement about what Red said, he told the players, Bill Russell, hey, he's fine or whatever. I'm thinking like, okay, exceptions are made for exceptional people. But I want to ask, how many championships had the Celtics already won when that whole ordeal took place? Because I mean, of course, we know Iverson hadn't won a championship.
Yeah, it was like they were like 3 or 4 into it, and like at least one MVP for him, at least at that point. The players involved, it was earlier in their run, and Brad capped the conversation by saying, I can trade you to the Tri-City Hawks if you want, and you can average 20 a game and get all the playing time you want and miss the playoffs.
Yeah, that's diabolical.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, Speen, what was the next topic that you wanted to address? Because I had a couple too.
So a lot of the content that I looked at involving Iverson, like I said, was very eye-opening in the sense that a lot of it was predicated upon his size and his tenacity and just what he did for his circumstance, right? And I don't know if we have ever had that conversation. Like, if you take AI in a vacuum, how great is he? I don't even think. Rex, how tall are you?
Now, after back surgery, or when I played?
You said you guys are about the same size?
Yeah, well, close. He's couple inches taller than me when I played. Okay. I'm an inch shorter now just because of the back surgery.
Got you. So I'm like almost 6'1", right? And that's like a giant around a lot of people. And AI, if I remember correctly, was listed as 6'1". I personally don't think that man. Yeah, 5'10", maybe 5'11". If you're being generous, I think is what he actually was. And he did that. He went to the paint before flopping was a thing. He went to the paint when big men were big men. And like Shaq said, like, if you go to the paint, I'm going to make you feel it. And AI still went to the paint and still scored. Unfortunately, kind of like his biggest claim to fame is one win against the Lakers dynasty, which is unfortunate for him. I think that actually kind of hurt his legacy because it's like he's bigger than that one win, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion. What the dude was able to do with minimal help was amazing. And it was like pure heart. Like it was like on some Rudy type stuff. But all-time greatness. So I'm guilty of moving the goalpost as well. But it's like, what AI did in his prime, at his apex, I don't think anybody can ever mirror, is the thing. I just don't know where you place him in that pantheon. because it's so situational, it's so circumstantial. Like, right, like nobody ever says, well, D Wade is great because he overcame X, Y, and Z. Like D Wade was great before LeBron got there, right? Like we know that he was putting up monster numbers, not to the same extent, but it was already established.
Yeah,
I feel like we almost put AI on a crutch, and it's not fair to him because like his greatness supersedes numbers. It's damn near, excuse my language, it's almost supernatural if you really think about it. But that's it. I don't have still need to organize my thoughts. I think the Hennessy's winning thus far as an update.
So Rex, I'll ask you, from what you were able to perceive about Iverson, what was it that he was lacking that didn't like ultimately get him over the top to become a championship player?
Well, the dilution of the league. He had no help. All the great players were spread out amongst all the teams. That's why I preferred the league when it was smaller, and that excuse did not exist.
Right.
Every team had multiple future Hall of Famers on it, so you take away that argument. We all, what happened. What would Iverson have been like if he would have had, teamed with Patrick Ewing, or, someone like that? What if he had been in Houston, when he got drafted? That was after Ewing and Hakeem's prime, but he would have gone to a team with an established star, and he would have started out as the quote unquote young gun, having to answer to an established star. He wouldn't have went straight into the ball game, his first game as a rookie, being the man on the team and in a way being spoiled in that position.
Yeah.
I think it would have really done him well to go to a team where he had to take a half a step back and be a support player for may have only been a half a season. Who knows with his abilities. But, like Kobe did, Kobe started off obviously different out of high school, but he matured into something because he was given the opportunity to mature into something. Allen Iverson came in the league, and they basically were like, okay, here's the keys to the car. You're driving. Take us. It was like, all right. And it was right from the get-go. Just like Ewing in New York. It ruined Ewing's career. He was not able to be the player that he was being foreseen as being.
So I see this like on other platforms. Like I see this debate between Iverson and Harden. For me personally, I have Iverson over Harden, seeing that the cards he was dealt, he at least got to the finals. Now I'm looking at what James Harden, when he was with Houston. So he has multiple shooters spread out, no power forward or center, waiting for him in the lane. So he pretty much can just, free range to the basket. But I look at Allen Iverson, as you said earlier, the style of play, with the stars being spread out, and then you also got to factor in that you could still hand check. They hadn't abandoned it yet until I think 2005. So I'm like, wait a minute. So Iverson was able to navigate all of those obstacles, not have the best shooters or I guess above average shooters, and still get to the finals. So I always ask, with Allen Iverson afforded the same shooting as James Harden, I'm not saying that he would have won a finals, but I think he could have possibly made, I would say, deeper runs in the playoffs. But
it's funny you said that, Hoop God. I saw that Harden Iverson comparison a lot too. And it's like when you look at Harden's numbers, it's tough to compare the two, right? Because what Harden did for like a 2-month span of that like minimum 30-point game thing that he did that didn't end up amounting to anything.
No.
It was still incredibly impressive. But then one of the podcasts I was listening to, they flat out said, like, would you rather take peak Harden or peak Iverson? And despite Harden's kind of like output, I'd still take Iverson. Yeah, he may shoot you out of a game, but he's going to leave it out there every single time. Like, you have to know that, and you're not going to get that from Harden. And what's wild is Iverson was doing like all the strip club stuff that Harden does and all the partying with rappers and all that stuff. Iverson was doing that in his prime. Iverson was rapping in his prime. Kobe Bryant was rapping in his prime. He had a terrible song with what's her face off the one that had a forehead but didn't have a forehead.
Talking about Brandy?
No. Maybe Brandy was on the song. Anyways, he had a song, and they were winning at the time. The difference is James Harden does all that extra stuff, and you can see where it costs him. Like, you can scientifically see on his body, like, oh snap, like, yo, this is catching up with him real quick. Back in the day, that wasn't always the case. So I'm taking AI. Another interesting comparison I thought was Derrick Rose and Allen Iverson, and who had the higher ceiling.
I somewhat see that one. Okay.
Because to me, similar in the sense of scoring ability, similar in the sense of explosive ability. Obviously, Derrick Rose was a higher jumper, but they both made for what they lacked in size. Try getting in the way of Derrick Rose. Try standing in front of Allen Iverson. Like, they're gonna find a way to get through you, and there's just like, you can't teach that. That can't be taught. You either have that or you don't. And unfortunately, a lot of dudes in the league now do not. Like maybe like Jimmy Butler or Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Those guys. It's like there's something.
Guys over 30.
Sorry, repeat that, Rex. I'm sorry.
Guys over 30.
Yeah, it's like that old man strength. Kind of. Well, yeah, 30 is old man in the NBA, right? So it's like, yeah, like you find that whatever that's in you to get past it. That that doesn't take steroids. Go ahead.
Well,
sorry.
the thing with Iverson, you got to remember, when you talk about these other guys, every other name I heard, those guys were basketball players. Iverson was not a basketball player. He was an athlete. He was a better football player than he was a basketball player.
Yeah.
He was Michael Vick a couple years before Michael Vick. In fact, they're from the same area. Michael Vick, I believe, used to actually watch Iverson, he said once.
Yeah. And I believe that's where that mental toughness transition from football, because he was a dynamic athlete. I mean, he was playing quarterback, free safety.
Yeah, you can watch his video. You can watch their videos on YouTube of his high school games. Yeah. His highlights. It's a high school quarterback and cornerback, played both, and it's insane. Watch it. It's like, my God. But the whole bowling alley thing happened. He lost all of his football scholarships. He spent some time in jail, was released when that whole thing was found out to be a sham. And John Thompson saw his opportunity.
Yeah. And I think I think things happen for a reason, because John Thompson, that was a great positive situation for him to go to, because I would just say, had he, let's look at it for this.
That saved his career. Who God? We wouldn't.
No. I was just
intervene.
No, I was just thinking though, had he went to Indiana with Bobby Knight, I think those two would have clashed, because you got those strong mentalities, and it's like they say,
would have never happened.
So yeah,
they would have killed each other. Literally, they would have killed each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So I
have
think
no doubt.
Yeah, I think John Thompson that was a perfect, like situation for him to go into because,
Yeah.
like Rick said, he understood his mentality and of course, was able to give him that positive, encouragement and energy that you need. Seeing that the situation that he was dealing with. But so Rex, I wanted to ask you, what would you say, like in Iverson's career, where did his mental game and his physical game like sync up? If it did, like what season would you say, looking at it from that aspect? Because we know when he was younger, he kind of came in, trying to prove himself and crossing up Jordan. But you got to go through that and you got to actually start to mature. So which season would you say, like seeing Iverson during that
I
time?
don't think he ever did. I think that's the problem. That's the big gray area. Is from day one you saw the outrageous athleticism,
Yeah.
the never say die attitude,
Yeah.
the I'm small but I ain't weak. The I drive to the hole because that's where the basket is.
Yeah.
That's actually a Spud Webb quote, but it, he was anointed as an icon in culture before his basketball game matured.
Mm.
And then he started making decisions based on his rep. That's actually something that Larry Brown talked about recently in an interview about, he tried to get Allen to listen to him because he thought he could make Iverson the greatest player that ever lived. That Allen Iverson really is practically Earl Manigault, but he made it.
Right.
All right.
Right. Hey, Rex, you dropping the gym now. I don't think a lot of people know about Earl Manigault.
Yeah, the original GOAT.
Yeah. Hey, his movie is Rebound. And when I first saw that, Kareem said that's the only player that struck fear in him, not to like.
Well, you see, but that's the thing. When Kareem came off the floor, I believe it was his final home game in LA.
Yeah.
Chick Hearn asked him, he said, "You've played with the best, against the best. You've seen them all for, 20 years here, growing up in New York and out in UCLA." He said, "You've seen it all." He said, "I want one name. Who is the best player that you ever saw?" And he waited for a minute, and I saw it live. And he said, "Well, if I had to narrow it down to one guy, I'd have to say the GOAT."
Rex,
and he walked off.
Is that the?
And
go ahead. I'm sorry. I have a question for you when you're done. My bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was Earl Manigault, nicknamed the GOAT because his last name Manigault, but Gault is how it's spelled, but it's French and Manigault. And the joke is, the guy asked him his name. He said Manigault, and he thought he said Nanny Goat.
Nanny Goat, yeah.
And they just started calling him Goat. But then he ended up being the greatest playground player that these guys had ever seen.
Yeah.
And he played a famous playground game against Kareem in high school that up until the Dream Team played was supposedly the greatest game ever played, where they were just going at it. All kinds of other legends were there and saw it. But he was 6'1", outrageously high jumper, could touch top of the backboard. But it was about the rep. And he went against the grain, got thrown out of school basically because he refused to do the high jump for the track coach. So the track coach got him thrown out of school. You know, just that same old story. You know, Iverson kind of went the same way, but he made it. He was an NBA MVP. He's a Hall of Famer. But he got that recognition in the culture, the subculture, if you will, and was that guy that was. It's like when you hear people talk about Jordan, they feared Jordan. They respected Iverson. He had that street cred far above everyone else.
Yeah.
Jordan went corporate. Iverson never. What was the quote from Tupac? You know, about, you know, starting in the hood and all that, and I'm still here. You know, that was Iverson.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to fact check that Tupac quote. I'm gonna just say Tupac. I don't know if that was Tupac that said that.
Well, it's a famous video. So
messing with you, Rex.
Let me get the
question out before I forget, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
If I remember correctly, the legend was he was the. There's a dollar on the top of the backboard. He jumps up.
Yeah.
Makes change.
Yeah.
Same guy. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. My bad.
Yeah, he jumps up, takes off the dollar, and puts 4 quarters up there, and then comes down.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, my bad, Hoop God. Might have a little disconnect there. Hoop God, if you're talking, we got a little bit of a delay. Shout out to the chat as that is taking place. Rex, real quick while Hoop God's coming back, Iverson being a culture, the one thing I do want to point out is he is the one I think that sparked the whole NBA clothing kind of like guideline deal, right? You know what the difference though is David Stern had the guts to say across the board, no, this is what it is. Despite the optics, despite any racial tension that it might cause, he said, no, look, you guys have to dress professionally. There was like no through line. And for the most part, everybody just kind of like went along with it. These days, you do not see that from Adam Silver. You don't see him standing on business in any way, shape, or form like that. And I will say that Allen Iverson, as rebellious as he was, he adhered to it and remained great and still kept his brand and still sold his sneakers and still stayed unique. And that, even if you think about it, that gives him even more credit as being greater than basketball. When you talk about influential players, you know, people talk about Jordan, they bring up LeBron, which I think is erroneous in terms of influential players, Curry, right? Iverson does not get the credit he deserves for influencing basketball as a whole, as a culture.
But that's what I always talk about. So many shows, they talk about just NBA. It's just NBA. Where, you know, I don't care about the NBA. I care about the game, the whole game. All of it. It's like when you talk about the NBA top 75. Okay, well, there are guys that are in the basketball top 75 that are not in the NBA top 75.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, you got, you know, Bill Daniels, Oscar Schmidt. You know, these were 2 of the 75 greatest players that have ever played, but they didn't play in the NBA. Well, Mel Daniels, I think, played 1 year at the very end of his career in the NBA. But they were 2 of the greatest players of all time, but they were outside the NBA. So they're not on that list, but they're as good as the guys on that list. That's all NBA. Arvydas Sabonis, when he was young and playing for the Soviet Union, at one point it was talked about that he was the greatest center in the world, that he was better than anybody in the NBA at that time.
He'd be top 5 today.
before his injuries.
He'd be top 5 today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he was young, there's a game on YouTube, him and Ralph Sampson, when they're young, going against each other, and it is a wild game. To see the moves that he was doing in the mid-'80s as a 7'2", 7'3" dude was crazy.
His prime was in Portland, wasn't it?
No, his prime was in Soviet Union.
Oh, I mean professional basketball, though. I mean in the NBA, I should rephrase.
Well, yeah, he played for Portland. Yeah.
Did he? Yeah. He didn't play for anybody else, right? It was just Portland?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't his best version in Portland, though. Like, that was way.
Yeah, he had already had numerous knee surgeries and foot surgeries, was in his 30s, and was like 30 pounds overweight when he got to Portland.
Yeah.
When he was young and thin and could run, it was crazy. If you go back and watch the video of him, it was ridiculous. He's pulling up for what would be 3-pointers now as a 7'3" center. He's going behind he's doing like crossover. He's going behind his back. He's doing no look behind the back bounce passes, half court to a guy streaking to the basket. It's crazy how great he was, but we never saw it because it was behind the Iron Curtain. Only the people in Soviet Union saw it, and then they didn't see the NBA. So,
Yeah. Welcome back.
But the thing with Iverson was when he was at Georgetown, he started getting that following in D.C. before he ever even got to the NBA, and that acknowledgement, that fame, that responsibility that was put on him, he carried that hand in hand with what the NBA wanted.
Hey Rex, what was it, the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 when him and Ray Allen faced off in college?
Oh, don't get me. The Big East Championship was when Ray Allen, I thought it was the Big East Championship when Ray Allen hit that 15-footer over top of him. That was the last, I think that was the last Georgetown game I watched. I couldn't watch anymore after that. That was brutal. Oh, my Lord.
Hey, as long as he didn't do it to my Tar Heels. Oh, go ahead, man.
Can you locate the quote from Great One about Allen Iverson's crossover being a carry? I think that's really. I think that's. I want to point something out about that. It's 100% true, but I do want to address.
Which quote?
From the Great One, 765. His crossover was a carry though, and now it's even worse.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. That wasn't his crossover, and he was taught that crossover at Georgetown by a bench player that was a fantastic street baller. That was his move.
Who?
But he wasn't good enough to get on the court, and he taught it to Allen, and Allen just took it next level.
Do you know who that was, Rex? Do you have a name on that guy?
I cannot remember his darn name. He had mentioned it, and it was actually, I was a Georgetown fan for 20 years, and it was actually a name that I just vaguely remembered being on the roster. I don't even remember the guy playing, ever even getting on the court.
So growing up, I was a big Allen Iverson fan, and obviously when he crossed Jordan, that was like this big moment. But it is a carry, A, and B, he wasn't the first to do it even in the NBA. Tim Hardaway was doing that way before Allen Iverson was. And I'm sure
Tim Hardaway wasn't a carry though.
Tim Hardaway was not a carry. That's right.
No.
He does not get credit for it. He gets credit for being crazy homophobic and consistently mispronouncing Wembanyama, but he does not get credit for being kind of like the first guy to break down guys off the dribble with a left-right crossover that wasn't a carry. Exactly. So Iverson took it and ran with it, and that's great. And then Reebok built a brand off of it. Shout out to Reebok, corporate sponsorship not pending. But the problem is they ended up putting out a series of commercials that highlighted it. Great. I remember it got so bad though that they centered a commercial around him doing this behind the back, around the back crossover move that was as clear as day, a double dribble and a carry, but it was being marketed as this beautiful move. And I thought to myself, this can't be good, and this can't be good specifically for Allen Iverson, because this won't last. And not that I'm a prophet or anything like that. The more it became about the brand, the less successful, kind of like guys now, the less successful he became as a player. And he's still great. He's still an all-time great.
Yeah. I mean, what happens to a lot of players is they allow themselves to be pigeonholed into a certain role, into a certain image. And then the money's coming in, the side jobs are coming in, the commercials, showing up on this TV show, doing this thing, and they start to get that feeling that they have to do this to maintain the image is what people want to see, not the real person. A lot of people, they don't want to see the maturity. They don't want to see, the going from A to B. They don't want to see that journey. They got the image they love, and they want to see that image. Now, for them, they'll see that image over a course of 5 years, and to them, it's one image, that player. But to that player, that's 5 years of your life.
Yeah,
and it stagnates. It stagnates their maturity process. Yeah. I'm one of those guys. I love new music. I love the rough sound, the unrefined sound of a garage band just starting off. Then they have their first album. It does fantastic. Then they get a big name producer, and then 2-3 albums later, it sounds like garbage because it's all the same homogenized stuff once you get into the industry.
Yep.
That's what happens with a lot of these players. They make their name on the street. They make their name in AAU. They make their name out of college. And then when they get to the next level, they're kind of expected to be that. So they kind of get pigeonholed into being just that. The most famous being Will, obviously. You talked about rapping. If you go to my channel, I have a 2 songs by Wilt Chamberlain that he made back in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're on my channel.
Do you have a follow-up to that? Because I have to address something else in the chat that was directed at me.
Yeah. I was as Rex was speaking, I remember this because this is when I was in high school, and this was me at 16, 17, my years in high school playing basketball. I didn't play my sophomore year because I was playing football and I suffered a slight injury. But when Iverson started to take off, as Rex was saying, his brand was starting to build and expand. So I grew my hair out. Why? I want to be like Iverson. I wanted braids. Now my coach, he was so fundamentals and disciplinary. We could wear wristbands, but that was it. And if we had a knee injury, we could wear some over our knee. But the sleeves, he wouldn't let us wear that. Now, granted, in practice, oh yeah, we could go all out. He didn't care about practice. But he had strict rules, for when we played games. So no headbands and no sleeves. But we could wear the wristbands. So every practice, right? I got the headband, braids. I got my sleeve. I'm trying to look like Iverson. Now, what I can say is I was a lot more disciplined because I actually played a team style because I was more of a defender, and then my offensive skills started to catch up. But I always relied on defense. So I always played the team game. But I wanted to look like Iverson, right? And when I had my little opportunities to go one-on-one, I try to cross somebody up. But, you have to be able to separate those two. And where I think Iverson ultimately hurt a lot of my peers growing up, that they tried to over emulate what he did. Because Iverson, let's just be honest, he played a selfish style. It was like he monopolized the ball, and they win as he win. But I do look back on it now, and I can say, well, that's another reason why he didn't win a championship, because even if he did pass the ball, he get it back. Well, that don't mean you can't make another pass. But his mindset was, if you pass the ball back, I'm gonna shoot it. Well, our coach wouldn't go. So you pick your spots when you could do that, but I also, play within the team frame. So as Rex was saying that, I was thinking about, I grew my hair out because of Iverson. I wore the headband because of Iverson. I didn't get to wear number 3, but I got to wear number 6. So that's close enough. And, but I get it, though, because at that time, I'm young, I'm impressionable. I see this guy. So, no, Rex, everything you're saying is accurate, because that's exactly how I saw it on the come up. But it's just like, but why can't he win championships?
Yeah. Well, you see, the only difference between when I was in practice and then when I was in the game was playing time. I got to play all the time in practice. Just not in the game.
Practice, Rex? We talking about practice, Rex?
Yeah, we're talking about practice because that's the only time I got on the court.
So real quick, Hoop God, I sent you the link to that clip I was talking about. That Iverson spin commercial that they tried to say was a legal move. But 24 Rapture asked me to post these as a sneaker guy, these Kevin Durant's that I just purchased. I'm gonna put these real quick. So I got a little bit, but Buddy told me they were in good shape. They're not in terrible shape. He's obviously a photographical genius auteur, because I thought I was purchasing something better. But if you saw me kind of like finagling in the background, that was me working out all like the bumps and creases and stuff.
How much did you charge
for you, bro? I got these on the low. I paid like $60. So once I get them fine tuned and retailed and all that stuff, I don't like to resell. I wear my sneakers, so I'm not sweating it. But you take the losses with the wins.
Yeah.
Take a look at that commercial, and if you can, try to share it to the crowd, because that's a prime example of how he was being marketed as, and this was before And One took off.
You could argue And One took off because of Iverson.
Because of Iverson, yeah.
So you can tell me this. When was Rafer Alston drafted into the NBA?
Ooh.
Was it 90? Was it 90? Wait, let me fact check that.
Because I don't know his life story between like Iverson, right, and Sebastian Telfair, those kinds of guys. Rafer Alston. If Rafer Alston was doing the street, like the Pee Wee Kirkland street ball stuff before Iverson was doing all that, then you still could say.
Well, I mean, if you want to go to the first one to do it, I mean, Pearl Monroe was the first one.
Fair, that's fair.
That I mean, he was. Oh, and when you hear Jordan fans call Michael Jordan Black Jesus, he is not Black Jesus. Stop that. Earl Monroe was nicknamed Black Jesus. Okay. Monroe turned down pro basketball a couple times because he made more money on the playground.
99. He got drafted in 99.
Okay. Oh, wow, man. This seems, wow, Jesus. I am old.
25 years ago, yeah.
99.
But Pearl Monroe, I mean, him, guys like Billy Cunningham, he used to play at Rucker Park. I mean, there's a lot of them. In fact, if you want to really get people with a trivia question, ask them who was the first player to do a spin move in the NBA and it not be called a travel.
Could you give me what decade it was?
That's Earl Monroe?
50.
Oh,
50s.
No way I'm going to know.
Coach Gene Shue, when he was an NBA player, was the first player to do a spin move and it not be called a travel. Because this is something that you youngins probably don't know. When they talk about you can't move your pivot foot, and today that means you can't move it a foot.
Right.
You know, you can drag it like 8-9 inches and it's not moving your pivot foot. Back then, when they said you couldn't move your pivot foot, it meant you couldn't pivot with a pivot foot. How it stopped is how it had to stay. You couldn't turn sideways. That's a travel.
That's why basketball was better back in the day, Rex, because it was black and white. There was no wiggle room on these damn rules. Like, a travel was a goddamn travel.
Well, here's the difference, okay? The difference is originally, as with any game, I mean, if you look at the underside of the box in Monopoly, it's got all the rules, okay? All the rules are written out. You follow the rules. It's a game. You play the game by the rules. The object of the game is to win by the rules. They legislated athleticism out of the game because they didn't want the guy that could just come in and jump over people and run around people and get past people to dominate. They wanted the person who could play by the rules the best, who could execute the rules to win. The better basketball player, not the better athlete, because the rules were made for everyone, not the elite at the pro level. It used to be the pros played by high school rules. High school rules ruled the world. Now, how it is in the NBA, the rules trickle down to lower levels now. It's the opposite. It used to be the other way around. The rules were made when Wilt started doing all this crazy stuff that they hadn't seen before. The first thing they do is make a rule so he couldn't do it, because they said his athleticism was an unfair advantage. We have to make the best basketball player win.
Yeah. No, wait, Rex, I was asking, was Walt Clyde Frazier, like, not to digress, he also played at the Rucker as well, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, they played for the Knicks, so yeah, they'd go out there and, I mean, shoot, even Mark Price is going to the Rucker Park. I mean.
Oh, yeah, not to digress, that's another guy that I brought up on another platform, and I actually had to give these guys his numbers to tell him, like, his game would transition perfectly to today. Because they were like, who is he?
He's Steph Curry. No, he is. Right. If Steph Curry played back in the 80s, he'd be Mark Price. Mark Price, if he played today, would be Steph Curry. I saw Mark Price pull up from the logo and just drain it without even no extra effort, and dropped it as the buzzer was going off for halftime against the Bullets. It was funny because his brother played for the Bullets. I mean, it's, he could just do that. So I remember seeing lots of guys. There was a guy that didn't even make it in the NBA that played at Kentucky with Mashburn, Travis Ford. I mean, I watched him and Mashburn having a shooting contest from the hash mark over on which is 28 feet out and on the sideline. And they're having a 3-point shooting contest between the two of them from the hash mark, just dropping them one after another. It just kept going until finally coach was like, "All right, come on, we're playing." Yeah. I mean, guys act like guys just learned how to shoot in the last 15, 20 years. It's hilarious.
So to clear up, I think a lot of the chat, I think they misconstrued the title. We're not questioning if Iverson's top 75. We're more so trying to find an accurate ranking for him. So that's going to segue to my next question. So, Rex, where would you rank Iverson amongst the top 75 greats? Would he be in the top 40, the top 50, top 60?
Well, are we talking about the whole package, or just his on-court game, or his greatness as a whole? This is art. This is Dart's argument. Great and best are two different things.
Right.
If we want to talk greatest, I mean, what do you put Iverson as? You count him as a point guard or a shooting guard?
I count him at the two.
See, I count him as a two. Yeah, I count him as a two because that's what he plays.
If you talk about top 75 players, that means basically you're saying 15 of each position. Name me 15 guys, 15 shooting guards better than Iverson.
Jordan, Kobe, D. Wade, Clyde, Jerry West. Oh, was Jerry West a point? He was a point. Never mind.
No, he was a shooting guard most of his career.
Okay, so Jordan, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, Clyde Drexler, Jerry West. That's 5. I don't consider Harden better than Allen Iverson.
No.
So what would he be 6th among shooting guards?
Yeah, that would be 6. So arguably you could say, that's top 30.
Okay.
So who's he replaced?
What, of the top 5?
So
to be honest, and you're going to be shocked. Who God will be shocked I say this, but to be honest, he should be in and Sharman should be out.
I'm sorry, who?
Bill Sharman.
Wait, Iverson, he made the top 75, did he not?
Christ, I hope so.
Yeah. but Sharman is still. Wait, he was on the 35, the 50, the 75.
Here. So real quick. All right, Jason the Kid.
Jason the Kid talking about Clyde. Clyde is
from last week too.
Yeah,
so my thing is this, and I can't tell if it's trolling or not because I want to have a legitimate conversation. I don't understand how you put Iverson. So if he's the 3rd best shooting guard of all time, like, are you saying Dwayne Wade's like not? I don't understand how you hop over Dwayne Wade in any capacity.
He got to be true.
I wouldn't put Iverson over Jerry West.
And I'm an Iverson fan. I'm an Iverson diehard.
Yeah, I don't put Iverson over Jerry West neither because
I don't understand that.
The top 5 guys, you have to be a champion. I mean, Isaiah Thomas said this. You have to be a champion. I cannot put you above somebody else who won championships.
Well, I mean, the point of the game is to win. So if you never won, then you never accomplished what you're playing for.
Agreed.
But then that goes back to my thing about Iverson's greatness, and you agreed with me, Rex, it supersedes basketball.
Yeah.
And do you take that into account?
That's why I asked. When he asked where do I put him, it's like, well, are we talking about his actual basketball ability, or are we talking about his overall greatness?
I mean, his overall greatness, I mean, shit, you could say for overall greatness, I could see you putting him ahead of D. Wade in that capacity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd put him top 5 for his impact on the game.
Yes. But purely as a basketball player, in 2024, we have to do this. To your point about greatness versus how did Dart phrase it? Greatness first best, was it?
Yeah.
Best, yeah.
It's like, is Steph Curry the greatest shooter of all time?
He's the greatest all-star caliber, NBA all-star caliber shooter of all time.
Yes. When you factor in impact on game, culture, all that stuff. But when you look at it from an actual basketball scope, as a historian, Rex, you're always going to have a better vantage point than me than I ever will. There's an argument to say that he's not. But we can't look at it like we have to look at it from almost like a holistic standpoint now, beyond the numbers. In a situation like this,
you can bring out guys like Brian Maggot and the aforementioned Mark Price. He was not allowed to just gun it. But
and also, Aaron McKee does not get enough credit for being on that damn team. Everybody always talks about Eric Snow and Dallin Bear. Aaron McKee was no slouch. Like, he was like a chubby guard. He was like Kyle Lowry before Kyle Lowry, but damn it, he made it. He was an impactful player. Like, people don't give him enough credit to. Iverson did not have a lot of help. There's no question. But
yeah, well, and that's what I said. That's why I stopped watching the NBA, because you just watch guys, just beat themselves to death in a diluted league where there's too many teams and all the stars are spread so far out, so they can get the up attendance in every arena. Every team has a name, but I don't care about names. I want to see the best basketball, which means I want 10 teams with 4 future Hall of Famers on each team, because that's going to give me the best basketball. I don't care about the players. I don't care about the teams. I want to see the best basketball.
Who plays the best Who plays the best individual basketball to you, Rex? Current
best.
I don't want to say individual. Who plays the best basketball to you right now? I'm gonna say
I only watched the playoffs this year. I only watched the playoffs this year, so I really can't really speak to it. But I really love Giannis, how he plays. I think he tries to do too much, though. I think he would be better off with a more structured coach that would give him less responsibility all over the court and let him focus on just being one guy.
Yeah. I would tell you the two.
We've already stepped off. I mean, we stepped off of Giannis and jumped on Jokic's back. Like, Giannis is like, what, 26? It's like, whoa, slow it. It's like the dude is going to be great for at least another decade. Y'all acting like he's washed up.
Yeah.
He needs to make that heel turn. Once he becomes like that bad guy, he's going to rack in at least another 2 chips. He has to embrace that bad guy, I don't care what people think mentality. And the crazy thing is because he's an overseas player, he already has the insane work ethic. If he has the attitude to back it up, it's a wrap for, at the very least, the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I just when I watch him, it's almost possession by possession, he'll do something different. And I feel like he's doing it on purpose to try and prove that he can do a bunch of different stuff.
Like the shooting.
Yeah, get in the post, he'll wheel to the basket and throw one down. And then rather than take advantage of that mismatch, the next time down, he's at top of the key and he shoots a 3.
Yeah.
Then the next time down court, he's on the wing and they're running a play and he's on the wing. It's like, whoa, just take a hint from Kareem. Take a hint from Kareem. What's your best move? Do that until the defense makes you do something else.
That's why Shaq
and Kareem ended up doing it for 20 years because they never was able to stop him from doing what he wanted to do.
Oh, I was going to say my example was more recent. Shaq. All right. I mean, you're not going to stop what I'm doing, so I'm just going to keep doing it. There's no reason for me not to.
Well, the only people that could stop Shaq were the ones that should have stopped Shaq, and that's the referees.
The refs, yeah.
But they let him get away with murder because that's what Stern wanted them to do, because they're looking for a face.
Who is a present-day Iverson to you? Is there a present-day Iverson?
Jalen Brunson.
Oh, interesting.
To me.
Jalen Brunson. Well, he's more of a power.
Yeah, well, I would say this, Rex. Jalen Brunson has a higher IQ. That's what he's showing me right now at his younger age. That his IQ.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Iverson Iverson was given the keys to the car before he learned all that. Like, he was a multi-sport athlete, and basketball was his second sport until he became a legal adult. Yeah. He wasn't honing his knowledge of the game day in, day out as a teenager, like all these other guys that are these days you're forced to specialize at a young age. There are no guys like Danny Ainge anymore. Who Danny Ainge, just in case you don't know, is the only guy to be All-American in 3 sports.
Oh yeah, I remember reading it. Wasn't it football, baseball, and basketball, right?
Yes. In fact, when he was an All-American in college and was getting votes for Player of the Year, which I believe he was, College Player of the Year at Brigham Young, he was actually a second baseman for the Blue Jays at the time. I had his baseball card.
He was quarterback in high school and college too, wasn't he? Or high school?
Not in college. Okay. Not in college. He was a high school All-American.
You're thinking of that dude that punched Kobe in the face in the game. Charlie, he was a Heisman winner.
Charlie Ward?
Was that Charlie Ward?
Charlie Ward was Heisman Trophy winner, point guard for Knicks.
That's the guy. He two-pieced Kobe in the face.
No, that was Chris Childs. You're talking about Chris Childs.
Was it Chris Childs? Okay.
Teammate. That was his teammate. That was Ward's teammate.
Got you. Hey, Hoopgat, I know you got to wrap this up in a minute. I want to come back to this because we had a ton of interaction in the chat, and I'd like to open this up next time for, especially Rex, if you have the availability next time.
Yeah, I was going to mention earlier, for some reason, my chat thing isn't working. I can't read anything that's been coming through in the chat. I don't know what's been said or anything.
Okay, it's been respectful, of course, but like deferring opinions, and I'd love to chop it up with people like in the moment at the time. Chris Childs, thank you. Shout out to Great 1765. One of the craziest 2 pieces in a biscuit you'll ever see. Google him punching Kobe in the face. Like, that was unheard of at the time.
Well,
I want to come back.
Wasn't there another guy? Who was the guy that used to always fight with Kobe?
Reggie Miller.
No. Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes fought with him a lot.
Matt Barnes.
No, he had a Hispanic name, I believe.
He has a podcast. He played for the Suns. They called him the Kobe Stopper for like a quarter, and then he got ejected.
Raja Bell.
Raja Bell. You talking about Raja Bell?
Yeah, Raja Bell. They used to get into it all the time.
He was a Kobe Stopper for about 6 minutes. I remember he flagrant fouled Kobe, like wrapped him around the neck and threw him out and got kicked out the game, and it was in the playoffs. Yeah, Reggie did it too. And Reggie weighed like $110. Kobe could have picked him up and broken him in half.
Well, Reggie was stronger than people think, because I remember UCLA in North Carolina used to always do a home and home series. And they were playing at the Dean Dome, and they were down by, I believe it was 3. I don't remember how many. But last play of the game's basically over. They inbounded the ball to Reggie Miller, and he shot a jump shot from the top of the key, but it was the other top of the key, the other end of the court, and he shot a jump shot that rimmed out. Like, it went 3/4 court, and it just didn't clank off the rim or slam off the backboard. 3/4 court shot, it toilet bowl. What kind of touch and what kind of arm strength, wrist strength you have to do that?
Yeah, well, damn it. That pumpkin head looking dude almost ruined the Bulls for me so many times. And he's even worse as an announcer.
Well, I was upset because I was a big Reggie Williams fan. And Reggie Williams ended up being a bust, and Reggie Miller ended up being a Hall of Famer. And I really wanted it to be the other way around.
Yeah, me too. And I'm a Knicks guy, so you know. But yeah, if you want to shut this down, Rex, can we get you back?
I guess. Yeah, it's just really hard for me on weekdays because I normally do like 13, 14-hour days during the week.
Okay.
Well, we
Cool.
sincerely appreciate the time that you afforded us this evening for this topic.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a problem.
Also, just to clarify, like Iverson to me is a top 4 shooting guard, top 5 shooting guards. A bit ambitious, but top 20 player of all time, probably top 20. I may have him in.
Well, the thing is, and this is what I was wanting to get into, but we never got around to it, is playing styles. There are different playing styles that other players have trouble playing with, and there are playing styles that other players love to play with. And it's hard to play with someone that plays like Iverson.
Yeah.
Just like it's hard to play with a Michael Jordan, it's hard to play with a LeBron James. That's why everywhere they played, they always had to rework every year. Like with the Bulls, like when you sit there and say, "Oh, he made his teammates better," well, then why did they have to retool the whole roster and bring in guys?
Right.
If you know what I'm saying, and it has nothing to do with talent level. It's just style of play, how you play, and being the best, having the most ability on the team. People have to play to your strength. That's what makes a stronger team. But when you have certain playing styles, they're hard. Like it's easier to play with Steph Curry than it is to play with Allen Iverson.
Agreed.
It's easier to play with Larry Bird than it is to play with Luka.
Or LeBron. It's easy to play with Bird or LeBron.
Yeah. And it's not saying that they suck. It's saying that their style, because here's the thing that the fans don't understand. When you look at the guys sitting at the end of the bench, those guys were the best player in their high school, best player in their neighborhood, and some of them the best player in their city, best player in their state. You got guys sitting on the bench that get 3 minutes a game that were all state and won state championships in high school and were the man on campus all through college. Then they get to the NBA and they're sitting the bench. All right. It's hard for a guy who's been an alpha his entire career to play with some other alphas. Some understand how to take a half step back for the good of the team. Guys like Walton, guys like Bird, guys like Russell. These guys that understood. Okay, yes, I'm the best player on the team, and I can do this, but it's better for the team if this guy who was great has been great everywhere before here. If I just outplay him and take his attempts away, it's hurting the team because he has talent too, and he needs to be allowed to do his thing. When you get a vacuum, Adrian Dantley, that was the big knock on him, was that he was a ball stopper. When the ball got in his hands, then it was ISO with just him, and it was going to be a shot, and he was either going to miss it or he was going to make it. Well, that stagnates the other 4 guys, so it's hard to play with them. They traded and got Mark Aguirre because Mark Aguirre had a similar style of play, but was willing to give the ball up and take a step back. There's even the video where he was replaced. People think Chuck Daly replaced him with Rodman. Mark Aguirre replaced himself with Rodman. They're in a playoff game. They're in a championship game. And Mark Aguirre stands up and grabs Rodman and tells Rodman, here, you need to be in for this. And he took himself out of the championship game and put Rodman in, who then made the play.
Yeah, that's selfless. Yeah, selfless.
Okay. Some guys are easier to play with. Some guys are not. It is not talent based.
Yeah. And hey,
that's
Rick,
the knock on Iverson, is he was not
Yeah, I'm glad you brought Rodman up because what you just said it holds credence. Like Rodman was the man on his college team. Like he was leading them in scoring.
Yeah. So was Rick Mahorn. Rick Mahorn led Division III, the entire country, in scoring at Hampton Institute, 28.6 a game, I think.
Oh wow!
You guys remember a kid by the name of Sebastian Telfair?
Yes.
Yeah. Coney
Greatest
Island.
guy out of the history of the tri-state area.
Coney Island. Yeah.
What'd he do?
Nothing. He played about what, 8 years, 9 years?
I don't even think he played that long.
No, I thought he went overseas, just like Marbury. Didn't he?
No, he started with Boston and then he got traded to Minnesota when they acquired Kevin Garnett. And then I think he might have went overseas after that. So he spent about I would say a brief period in the NBA for maybe 5 years, 6 years.
Also, before we go, real quick, Jason the Kid, appreciate the consistent like back and forth. He said that, or he or she, I don't know. I don't do that. He said that he can make a case for Iverson over D Wade. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear that, to see the science behind that, because that's the one where I'm like, I can't.
You know what it is? You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is, because whoever said that does not believe in what I just said. Because Dwayne Wade was a champion. He led a team to a championship.
Yep.
And then when Bosh and LeBron came, he owned Miami at that point, and he took a half step back.
Yeah, Wade County. That's right. You're right. Wade County.
But in doing so, it hurt his rep. And now you got like this guy saying Iverson was better than Wade, because Iverson was the man longer than Wade was, because Wade wanted a better team and accepted taking a half step back. A lot of guys won't.
I didn't think the debate would have as much steam as it does. I'm being honest. That's kind of like the whole point of these, right?
Yeah.
And it boils down to, and I know you can't see the chat. A lot of the responses are based on, like the surrounding cast, right? Like the teammates. And I don't know. Like I say all that to today. I want to come back to it. I really, really do.
Well, yeah, I need to bail because I need to eat dinner and I need to be at work in 7 hours.
I got to break the seal here at some point.
Yeah, Rex, we sincerely appreciate this time allotted, man.
Not a problem.
And thank everybody, as always.
And I'll see y'all next